Senate, please come to order. Thank you for your patience. This afternoon, we will have a brief moment of silence before we get into the business of the day. Thank you. Senator from Washington. There's a separate motion, I believe the senator from Washington was going to make about 629, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we just had scripted a little differently. Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Committee on Finance be relieved of H 629, an act relating to changes to the property tax abatement and tax sales, and that the bill be committed to the Committee on Government Operations.
Now, the senator from Washington moves that the Committee on Finance be relieved of H 629, an act relating to changes to property tax abatement and tax sales, and that the bill be committed to the Committee on Government Operations. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you relieve the Committee on Finance of H 629 and refer the bill to the Committee on Government Operations. Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. After consultation with the Chair of Finance, I would move to suspend our rules so that S-258 would not go to Finance pursuant to Rule 31.
Now, the senator from Chittenden Central has moved that S-258 appearing on the calendar for notice, and normally under our rules would then be referred to the Committee on Finance because it affects the revenues of the state, that instead the Senate suspend its rules in order to not refer the bill to the Committee on Finance. Now, just for explanation, what that would lead to, because the bill also would be referred to Committee on Appropriations after the Committee on Finance under Rule 31, is that were you to vote yes on this rule suspension, that second part would still go through as normally. So if you vote yes, the bill will not be referred to the Committee on Finance, but it will be then referred to the Committee on Appropriations. If you vote no, the bill will go to the Committee on Finance. They would then have to vote it out, and then it would be on notice and it would be sent to Appropriations. Is that clear? So the question is, shall the Senate suspend its rules in order to not refer S-258 to the Committee on Finance? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you have suspended your rules in order to not refer the committee to the Committee on Finance S-258 as appearing on the calendar for notice. With that, we will be referring S-258 as it appears on the calendar for notice to the Committee on Appropriations, and also S-204 appearing on the calendar for notice will be referred to Committee on Appropriations. We have 5 gubernatorial appointments for consideration that the governor has referred to the Senate. The 5 appointments will be distributed to their respective committees, and you can find details on who those are and what those appointments are in the calendar, in the journal for today's actions. We have 2 Senate resolutions for consideration. The first being Senate Resolution 16 relating to electronic committee meetings. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
Resolved by the Senate, notwithstanding the language in Permanent Senate Rule 32A, limiting the applicability of Senate Rule 32A to declarations of emergency, the provisions of Permanent Senate Rule 32A regarding committee meetings shall be in effect through Tuesday, December 31, 2024.
Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators will find on their desks 3 resolutions. The first 2 are the ones we'll be voting on right now. The third is the underlying resolution that the second one extends. So what's going on is that the electronic participation resolutions that we've depended on are up and need to be extended. So you see, for instance, we have a colleague or 2 who are on Zoom. Right at this moment, they would not be able to vote until we approve these resolutions, extending their life. So you'll see that For instance, on the first one, SR 16, the only change there is extending the date out to December. So this keeps the status quo, which I think, and I hope the Rules Committee agrees with me, I think it's been working beautifully. Zoom as an addition in emergency or health-related situations to keep our voting strength where it should be. So with that, Ms. President, happy to answer questions. But again, these are resolutions that you've seen before, just with different dates.
So the question is, shall the Senate adopt Senate Resolution 16? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you've adopted SR 16. We now have up for consideration Senate Resolution 17. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
Resolved by the Senate that temporary Rule 9B subsection B be amended as follows. Rule 9B, temporary rule regarding electronic participation in Senate sessions. Subsection B, this temporary rule shall remain in effect through old language, Friday, March 1, 2024, new language, Tuesday, December 31, 2024.
Now you've heard the reading of the resolution. Question is, shall the Senate adopt the resolution? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you have adopted SR 17. That brings us to the orders of the day. We have up for consideration S109. Third reading was ordered. S109 is an act relating to medical coverage for doula services. Are there any amendments to be offered before third reading? Seeing none, please listen to the third reading of the bill by title.
S109, an act relating to Medicaid coverage for doula services.
I've heard the third reading of the bill. The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you've adopted S109. It's my understanding, Chairwoman, that we are passing over S189, which means we will now be taking up for consideration S191, an act relating to new American Advancement Grant applicants. Third reading was ordered. Are there any amendments before third reading? Seeing none, please listen to the third reading of the bill.
S191, an act relating to new American Advancement Grant applicants.
Now you've heard the third reading of the bill. The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for that question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you have passed S191. We now have up for consideration JRS 41, which is a joint resolution requesting that the U.S. Postal Service reestablish as rapidly as possible a full-service U.S. Post Office in downtown Montpelier. Are there any amendments before third reading? Seeing none, please listen to the third reading of the resolution.
JRS 41, joint resolution requesting that the U.S. Postal Service reestablish as rapidly as possible a full-service U.S. Post Office in downtown Montpelier.
Now you've heard the third reading of the resolution. The question is, shall the Senate pass the resolution? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you have adopted JRS 41. We now have up for consideration H518. H518 was read for the first time and referred to the Committee on Government Operations, which considered the same and recommends that when the bill is amended, the bill ought to pass. Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
H518, an act relating to the approval of amendments to the Charter of the Town of Essex.
Now you've heard the second reading of the bill. Now for the report of the Committee on Government Operations, the Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Government Operations Amendment can be found on page 514 of your calendar. I won't make you go searching for the January 23rd House Journal to find the House changes. I will explain them to you. So the town of Essex had to update their charter because of the separation of the city from the larger town. And they took this opportunity to stand up a charter review committee in 2022 that went through a robust review of the entire charter of the town. This process took many months and included multiple public meetings and communications with members of the public who did not feel comfortable testifying in an open meeting. They presented the select board with their overhaul of the charter, and the select board decided to move forward with 5 articles of change to be voted on in the 2023 town meeting as separate articles. As you will find, the first instance is around allowing the town of Essex to set licensing fees and was passed with 77% of the voters supporting it. The next section of H518 allows for the recall of select board members if 15% of the registered voters submit a petition to do so. If this petition is submitted, the select board shall call a special meeting within 60 days to vote on the recall. If at least as many registered voters that voted in the previous town meeting election, or at least 1/3 of the registered voters vote, whichever of these is greater, and a majority of those voters support the recall of the select board members, then the member shall be removed from office and the select board shall appoint a replacement. Recall petitions, however, for the same select board member are limited to not more than once in 12 months. This was supported by 69% of the voters voting. The next section is where you will find the Government Operations Amendment. As passed the House, this section set the town's fiscal year at beginning July 1st and ending on June 31st. We believed that having this end date created what we know as a zeptosecond, which is a minuscule amount of time in which the town has no fiscal year. However, in preparing this amendment, we discovered that the way this was written, it actually created a whole day where the town had no fiscal year. And so we amended this to eliminate the end date of the fiscal year and only state the fiscal year shall begin on July 1st. Therefore, there is no zeptosecond or a zepto day in which the town has no fiscal year. The next section of the charter amendment is largely redesignations and changing of where the chapters sit, and it also allows the select board to adopt ordinances and enforcement. It allows the town to appoint rather than elect a town manager, and establishes a development review board. It includes transitional language from the town's current zoning board to their development review board and was supported by 79% of the voters. The last article that the town of Essex voted on was a provision on just cause eviction and was supported by 63% of the voters. You will note that that is not in the version as passed by the House. Just cause eviction was supported by 63% of the voters, but was removed in the House due to a concern that this provision was likely to hold up the entire charter. This is despite the voters' overwhelming support of this basic protection for renters in Vermont, and frankly is not good democracy in action and flies in the face of Vermont's stated belief in local control. Further, in an untenable housing market, it ignores the pleas from some of our most vulnerable Vermonters for basic protections from the possibility of discriminatory and harmful eviction. The Senate Government Operations Committee did vote to approve the 4 of 5 articles that the voters supported on a vote of 6-0-0, and we asked for the Senate support. I do think it's critical, though, that we support local democracy as a whole and that the will of the voters who most need our protections are respected and supported, even if we don't personally agree with the policy. The town of Essex went through a lengthy and robust process to ensure that the residents of the town were heard about what was most important to them, and then went through the democratic election process and voted on all of these articles. And I think it is incumbent upon us, the General Assembly, to respect the voices of the citizens of our state. Thank you.
So the question is, shall the bill be amended as offered by the Committee on Government Operations? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you have amended the bill as offered by the Committee on Government Operations. The question now is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Are you ready for that question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it. You've ordered 3rd reading of H518. That completes yours of the day. Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pending announcements, I would move that the Senate stand in adjournment until 1 p.m. Thursday, March 14th.
Are there any announcements? Senator from Washington,
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Finance will meet at 1:30.
Senator from Bennington,
Senate Education will meet 15 minutes after the fall together.
Senator from Madison,
Senate Gov Ops will meet immediately upon the fall of the gavel. We have a special guest waiting. Thank you.
do they get a Septo second to get there?
They do. They get a Zepto second in order to arrive. Thank you.
Excellent. Senator from Essex,
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate institutions will meet 15 minutes after the fall of the gavel.
Senator from Windsor. Yes.
Tonight's farmers night, I encourage you all to go. Sadly, I won't be there, but it's Vermont Youth Orchestra, and they are really terrific. Some of our most talented young people in Vermont. Many of your constituents will be there. It's 7:30, it should be a well-earned performance.
Is this the first time you won't be at the farmer's night or the first time you've been announcing that there's a farmer's night?
First time I've been announcing it from bed.
There we go. Fair enough. Are there any further announcements? Senator from Franklin.
Point of information, Mr. President, I want to just make sure that I understood correctly. I thought I heard you say earlier in the session that there were a list of gubernatorial appointments that appeared in the Journal. Did I hear that correctly?
What I was announcing was that we had 5 appointments given to us today, and they will be distributed to the respective committees of jurisdiction. And if you're looking to see who those people are and what committees they went to, they will be in today's Journal, which will come out
Correct.
tomorrow morning. So you
Thank
can
you.
find that information. I apologize if I was not clear. Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, the senator from Chittenden Central has moved that the Senate now stand adjournment until Thursday, March 14th at 1 PM. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it. The Senate will stand adjournment until Thursday, March 14th at 1 PM.